high jumper. I forgot. Yeah, you're a high jumper.
Yeah.
Yeah, and you had a great 49er question. Here's someone who can help us with that. He's nice enough to join us, of course, every week. 49er analyst, NBC Sports Authentic, also the host of the Quality Hang with Rod Brooks. How are you today, Rod Brooks?
I'm doing great, man, but stall my man out. Come
Exactly.
on, because he's an athletic Renaissance man. Y'all got to give him grief. Come on, man.
Hey, Rod, help a brother out, man. I appreciate that. See, hey, he already high on my list right now.
Rod, I know this is kind of the question everyone's thrown around, but Henry brought it up, and we haven't really talked about it much. Once Brock Purdy's healthy and the way Mac Jones is playing, the 49ers almost certainly, I would think, would go back to Brock Purdy. But what do you think of the idea that, hey, you maybe want to ride with the hot hand if Mac Jones is still winning games when Brock's ready to go?
I think you ride with the quarterback right now. You ride with the quarterback that's the healthiest, okay? Because that's the real line of who plays and who doesn't play. If you're not healthy enough to play at your best, at the optimum level, then you don't play. So that's where it kind of gets goofy, because today Brock Purdy was in the practice that the media could see. Brock Purdy was warming up on the side field, and Mac Jones was, as my co-host on the pre- and post-game show, Matt Mayoko, just tweeted out a little while ago, Mac Jones was limited, right? So it's kind of up in the air as to who's going to play. My guess would be that it would be Mac Jones. But I say all that to say this. If Mac Jones is healthier than Brock Purdy, then Mac Jones plays. Now, when they are both healthy, equally healthy, that job is Brock Purdy's for obvious and understandable reasons, until Brock Purdy, in this hypothetical case, is a drag on the entire situation. You dig what I'm saying? Mm-hmm. If Brock Purdy is not performing well, if both quarterbacks are healthy and Brock Purdy in this hypothetical situation is not performing well, then you go to Mac Jones. But if they're both healthy, let's just say they're both magically healthy today, then it's Brock Purdy's job. To me, it's a non-issue. But as far as right now, it's about who's healthiest. And right now, maybe it's Mac Jones, but it doesn't seem like it's Brock Purdy.
Right, and understandably so, because, my question was just basically this. Mac Jones has come in and played great football, leading this football team, as a very good captain and quarterback. So, it might be one of those things to where, because I said, if he gets this game this week, that'll be 4-0 for the young man, right? Mm-hmm. And you can look at Brock Purdy and say, Brock, you're our guy, 100%, $100,000, but we're going to hold you out one more game. We're going to ride with this kid one more game. I can see them doing that.
And I can see them doing that from a standpoint of, hey, man, that toe is just not where it needs to be. See, for me, this is a very, very good problem to have. The Niners are under, organizationally, in my estimation, they're under no pressure, because everybody knows it's Brock Purdy's job. Everybody knows that Mac Jones is doing a very good job. So you've got the best of both worlds. You got a guy who in the interim right now is getting the job done. You got a guy in Brock Purdy that you've been to NFC championships with and Super Bowls, or a Super Bowl with. Brock Purdy didn't magically get to be terrible. So I think that narrative, not that you guys are pushing it, that narrative needs to die. But what the Niners have right now, they have a cushion. And they can say to Brock Purdy and present to him medical evidence of, hey, man, that toe's not working, so we don't want to have a setback. Because that's what happened a couple of weeks ago. Mm-hmm. Mac Jones wasn't healthy enough to play because he came in, won the game, but he got roughed up a little bit, and that's when that knee injury started. He couldn't have played last week. So Brock Purdy was the healthiest of the two. And when he came in, he played well enough, but then he re-aggravated the toe injury. Now the Niners are in a position of they don't have to push Brock Purdy,
right,
because they don't have to.
That's what I say. So at that particular point, and we rolling, keep the dice rolling.
Yeah. Rod Brooks, nice enough to join us as he does every week. Rod, let's say you had to vote for one of two guys for MVP. You only have two choices. Which of these two guys would you vote for MVP right now if you had to? Baker Mayfield or Eddie Pinheiro? Who gets your vote for MVP?
Wow.
I mean, hey, you know what? Ooh, Eddie P been getting the job done, dog.
Yeah,
but no,
I know.
man,
I know.
I mean, but I'll get to Baker Mayfield in a second, man, because you got to get this dude his props. But man, Eddie Pinheiro, and we talked about this when everything had come to a head with Jake Moody a few weeks ago. Remember when Moody missed those field goals, how differently Kyle Shanahan had to call the game, how he had to go for it on fourth down, even in positions where he wouldn't necessarily go for it because he couldn't trust his field goal kicking. Remember Brock Purdy threw that touchdown pass to Tonjes in the Seattle game, right? And he said after the game, and I'm paraphrasing here, I threw it because we didn't want to try and kick a field goal. He had a quarterback and a coach moving differently because they could not trust the field goal kicker. Now we fast forward to last Thursday. Kyle Shanahan is like, 59-yard field goal. Hey, Eddie, go ahead and handle that real quick, my brother.
Yeah.
That's lightweight.
With confidence, too.
That's lightweight. Yeah. Eddie, you got that, dog. So my point is that now Kyle Shanahan doesn't have to worry about that. And now he can call games with the freedom that goes with, even if it doesn't work, my kicker's going to get the job done, or at least he's not going to lose the game for us. And we saw last week, Kyle Shanahan, from a play calling standpoint, was on one against the Rams, and I expect for that to continue. But Baker Mayfield, hey man, get this dude his props, dog. He doesn't have a running game. He doesn't have Mike Evans, but he is slinging that thing all around, and he's talking cash, you know what, in the process. Mm-hmm. I give that dude all the credit in the world because, hey man, listen, Cleveland has broken a lot of quarterbacks, and Cleveland tried to break him, and they didn't.
I mean, I think that just goes to show, when you bounce around, sometimes those first couple of stops, they just don't suit you. I've always said that, you have to have the right player in the right system. Mm-hmm. And I think that's exactly where Baker Mayfield is right now. He's in a system that really is conducive to how he plays.
Well, I mean, he's on a team that is run well coached, and he has talent around him. And more than anything else, he's got a hell of an offensive line in front of him. That game he had in Seattle, he was barely harassed. Yeah. He was absolutely not touched. And with a guy of his talent and his stature, if you allow him time to throw, and it's something obviously the Niners can't do, he's going to carve you up. But it's not just Baker Mayfield. It's Mac Jones. It's Daniel Jones. It's Sam Darnold and other examples. These guys have had to go play for the Jets, the Giants, the Browns, three terrible organizations, that are not very well run, that have had coach after coach after coach, which means offensive coordinator after offensive coordinator, bad systems, and bad personnel around. But we all knew that those guys had talent, the words arm talent coming out of college. But those guys, they went to bad organizations, and bad organizations don't know what to do with actual talent. So it's almost a luck of the draw where hopefully you eventually end up in a place like San Francisco or Indianapolis or Tampa Bay or Seattle where they're well-run, well-coached, have talent around, and these guys and their talent can flourish with all of the things that allows it to grow.
RB, one of the questions that as we move forward towards Tampa, our co-part here, Kyle Draper, talked about the Rams being the litmus test for the 49ers. And if they could beat the Rams, that it would tell him something. Are we looking at that when it comes to the Buccaneers? It looks like, these two teams are the creme de la creme. Of course, you still got Philly and Seattle, and the Rams are still there. Let's just say the 49ers walk into Tampa and get the victory. Would that tell you something?
Well, let me start here. First off, I'm disappointed that Drake's isn't here because I wanted to know who took the biggest L this week, his Eagles or Drake. Since Drake's not here, we can't have that conversation, so we're going to put a pin in that. No, you're 100% right. What I love about this game is these two teams are almost mirror images of each other. Getting good quarterback play, have very good passing offenses. Neither one of the teams are really running the ball the way that they want to, and both defenses are pretty much mirror images of each other. Very good at stopping the run, particularly Tampa. All the Niners are no slouch. And pass defense, you might be able to get, a little bit. There's some bend, but don't break. So I just love the fact that with these two teams being so evenly matched, I think we're going to get a game similar to what we saw in Seattle last week between Tampa and Seattle, where it's a back and forth shootout. Maybe not as many points, but I do think it's going to be one of these situations where whoever has the ball last eventually ends up winning. But this has all the markings of we'll see you in January. Yeah. Mm-hmm. These two teams could definitely meet in the playoffs. And, take Jacksonville. For Jacksonville to beat the Niners and then to beat the Chiefs, those are two good games back-to-back where you look at Jacksonville and go, okay, I have to apologize. I wasn't really familiar with your game. I think for a lot of people around the country watching the Niners, if the Niners can go and beat the Rams depleted and then beat a very good Tampa Bay team on the road, albeit 10 days later, there'll be a lot of people looking at the Niners going, all right, man, what they're doing is for real.
Yeah, we're catching up with 49er analyst Rod Brooks. And in another similarity, Tampa Bay's got a few injuries as well, Rod, but that, it's the NFL. Yeah. It happens. I want to ask you, though, which comes first, an interception or a rushing touchdown for the 49ers?
Brother, I don't know. I thought that both of those heroes were going to get erased a couple of weeks ago, but, man, was I wrong. I mean,
you were close. You were very close.
I was close, but, I don't get you nothing. Logic tells you that the Niners are not going to go 6 weeks without both a rushing touchdown and an interception. But when you look at the numbers, and I know, figures lie and liars figure, but Baker Mayfield has only thrown one interception. So the chances of the Niners being his second, yeah, it could happen with as much as he has and as much as he has to throw the ball. But Baker Mayfield's not out there slinging it around and, like you said, getting picked off. And the rushing defense for the Buccaneers is top 5. And, for the Niners, and I'm sure you guys know this and fans know this, but it needs to be pointed out over and over again because of his importance and how the Niners are chomping at the bit to get him back next week. Man, George Kittle makes all the difference in that run offense, particularly in short yardage situations, particularly in the red zone. And that's why you see the Niners, when they're getting into the red zone, they're running shovel passes or they're splitting Christian McCaffrey, out in the slot to get him out there in space because they just cannot run and operate their the run offense in a phone booth. So I'm of a mind to say that whatever happens in this game, I don't think the Niners are going to get a rushing touchdown and an interception. But here's the thing. I don't think they'll need either one of those to beat Tampa for the reasons that we mentioned earlier, is that their pass defense is susceptible. You can get to them. Yeah. And both of these teams are not necessarily winning the turnover battle. The Niners, I believe, are 30th, and the Buccaneers are somewhere down in the lower third. Against Jacksonville, the Niners had to win the turnover battle. They had to be better there. Against Tampa, I don't think they necessarily have to be that way.
Yeah, and I think that's the kind of the underbelly of Tampa Bay's 4-1 record. Yeah, Baker Mayfield pulls them out of the fire at the end, but one of the reasons he has to do that is because their defense doesn't hold leads in the fourth quarter, Rod.
And I think a lot of it has to do with the fact that they don't run the ball. Uh-huh. And to be able to keep offenses off the field, one of the opposing offenses off the field. One of the more brilliant things that the Niners were able to pull off last week, and I think I might even mention it before the game, is that they had to keep the Rams offense off the field. And the Niners did that brilliantly, particularly in the first half, most notably in the first quarter, where the Rams only ran 6 plays and Stafford was 1 of 2 for 5 yards and he got sacked. The Niners were able to win the time of possession battle against the Rams, and they didn't have a run game. They didn't have to do it in a traditional sense, but they did it because they went on scoring drives of, in no particular order, 12 plays, 8 plays, 8 plays, 12 plays, 9-play drive I think they had at one point. So for the Niners to do all of this, and Christian McCaffrey obviously is a big part of what they're doing, in the pass game and just having him out there as a threat. For the Niners to do what they've done offensively without a run game is a testament to how good of a coach Kyle Shanahan is and how diverse this Niner offense has become from its days up where it had to be run heavy for it to be successful.
RB, I was just sitting here looking over some notes as you were coming on here to make sure I wasn't talking out the side of my neck. It seems like Malik Mustafa is a go this week. If that's the case, is it Jason that sits down or is it Marcus Siegel, even though Malik is slated as a free safety? If he comes back, who's taking the seat?
It's been a rough go for Siegel. At times he's played and made plays that have been beneficial to the Niners, but clearly opposing quarterbacks have gone after him. Matt Stafford, in particular, made it a point to go after Siegel. Had success, but let's give it up for Marquise Siegel. He was part of the reason why Kyron Williams didn't get that yard, and the Niners were able to win down in Levi South last week. My guess, though, would be I think the Niners might integrate Mustafa and play that big nickel, which I have to be very careful when I say that.
Yeah.
Must enunciate when you say the words big nickel. You know, in trouble. But I'm going to hedge my bets here. I mean, the obvious answer to the question would be Siegel. But I think they're going to go with the big nickel package and have Mustafa out there. Mustafa's a dog, man. You got to have him out there as much as you possibly can.
Now, I want to have you look into your crystal ball. Now, when the Niners are fully healthy, you know, McCaffrey fully healthy, you're going to bring back Kittles and put Brock back where he's supposed to be. How dangerous can this team be?
Man, we haven't even talked about Ricky Pearsall.
Right.
We haven't even talked about Juwan Jennings.
Right. Get everybody back healthy. How dangerous can this squad really be?
They could be lethal. And what's going to be fun, because they've already had success missing all of those guys and with basically not having Bosa for the balance of this season. They've won all of these games, and they've done it off the strength. You know what I mean? They've done that where, hey, man, if we got to throw the ball, we got to throw the ball. What's setting up for the Niners is they're going to be able to play in and I think be successful in any football game that breaks out. So if it's a football game where it's about ball control, but you have to do it in the traditional sense and you're running the ball, bam, you got your offense, you run the offense with George Kittle in there. And if it's a game where it has to be a shootout, well, we can do that because Pearsall is coming back. Obviously, Kittle, big in the pass game. Haven't even talked about Brandon Ayuk. And so when you get all of those guys back, those very good wide receivers, and Kittle, what also do they bring? They bring the blocking downfield that props up the run game. And that's been the big thing that the Niners have missed with the run game, is that the blocking downfield, the blocking from the wide receivers, not for lack of trying. You just have a lot of guys like Kendrick Bourne and Marquez Valdez-Scantling and DeMarcus Robinson. You have a bunch of guys who are not, for lack of a better way of putting it, familiar with how they need to get down when it comes to blocking in the run game downfield, or even blocking in the run game, in small close quarters. So to me, it's just that the idea that the Niners will be able to play any type of football game they need to offensively. That's the most tantalizing part.
So Rod Brooks is our guest, of course. If things continue down that path for the 49ers, and if you're Kyle Shanahan and you recognize that or see that the same way, I should say, if there's any chance of getting Hendrickson or Simmons from the Titans or Judon from the Dolphins, I mean, he has to do it, right? If there's any reasonable way to do it, he has to do it, doesn't he?
The more they win, the more it makes sense to make that big splash, to use future draft capital, which, as we know, is very important.
Yeah.
To use future draft capital for the here and the now. Because here's the thing. You've got now in 5, coming up on 6 weeks, you've had this Niner team from the beginning tie a knot in the bottom of the rope and hang on. Mm-hmm. And not only have they hung on, they've thrived. And this is where John Lynch, being a former player, acutely understands this point of view. All of those guys, because it's their job, but all of those guys in that Niner squad have busted their asses to get to this point. You have to reward them. Because what they've shown here in the first, quarter, now first 6 weeks of the season is that these guys are talented enough to make a run to get into the playoffs and possibly get deep into the playoffs. It would be unfair to the players, who of course are getting paid, but they're putting their health and well-being on the line. It would be insulting to the players to not make a move to help now because you're worried about the future. Because what these guys have done now has been nothing short of remarkable. So even if they lose to Tampa Bay on Sunday, even if they kind of hit a rough patch here, hopefully it doesn't happen over the next couple of weeks, I think the Niners getting themselves some help on the defensive line at edge. I think it's a foregone conclusion. It's just a matter of who.
Wow. Yeah. Joined by Rod Brooks. Rod, take me in the from the eyes of RB and the people around you and inside the circles here at 49ers. What's been the evaluation of Trent Williams so far this year?
I think it's a few things. Doesn't do a whole lot in preseason. Doesn't do anything preseason-wise. Doesn't play in any of the games. And in training camp, they load manage him, understandably. I don't say that to point Trent as lazy by any stretch of the imagination. I don't think that's a bad strategy for Trent and the Niners. Man, he's closer to 40 than he is to 30. So these are the things that you have to do. So it has taken him a while to get started. I think also he's run up against some guys, like I'm forgetting the young cat's name on Jacksonville, but he's run up against some guys who are pretty damn good.
Grant? What was it? Is it?
Oh, no. Jonathan Hines Allen.
There you go. Yeah,
Josh Hines Allen, pardon me. Josh Hines Allen. Like, Trayvon Walker, he's run up against some guys. Those are the two guys from Jaguars that, can play. But when it came time on a short week to handle Jared Verse, Trent Williams was there. Trent Williams was that dude. So I think you're getting up and down with Trent. That comes with a variety of things that I mentioned. Also, at left guard, Connor Colby came in for Ben Barch early in the game against the Saints, and he looked good, and then he's been trending downward ever since. And I think Trent has had to do his job and also help out the rookie late-round draft pick,
right?
Immediate right, playing left guard. So I think Trent's where we are now as opposed to where we were at the beginning of the season, because I want to say he gave up 7 or 9 pressures against Seattle. Yeah. Trent has gotten better, but you have to understand that he's not going to be the all-the-time uber-dominant force that he was right when he got here. But you are a much better football team when you have him out there at left tackle than when you don't have him out there at left tackle. And I do find it to be somewhat hilarious and definitely ironic that out of all the injuries the Niners have had, the two most durable players this year, Christian McCaffrey
and Trent Williams.
Yeah.
And let's hope it stays that way.
Hey, Rod, before we let you go, we appreciate your time. Since the High Flyer was sharing, could you tell us the first sport you played and whether you ever played any kind of off the beaten path or unusual sports in your time?
And see, this is why I'm coming to my man's defense.
For real?
Yeah.
I played lacrosse.
Oh, okay.
Okay.
My high school, public high school in Houston, we were one of the first public high schools to field a lacrosse team, and they were looking for people who wanted to do it. And when they told me that you could hit people with a stick,
count you in.
They were like, "Yeah, you just get to go out there and just beat people with a stick." I'm like, "Oh, word?"
Because you were going to do that anyway, right? So.
Yeah, right.
And that's in
hey, I would have been doing that at the crib for free. Sure, why not?
And that's in high school. I was 8 years old when I did that, bro.
The tumbling.
No, I'm with you, man.
Yeah.
And they don't understand the athleticism. They don't understand the core strength of getting on that pommel horse and handling your business. I'm with you, dog.
You know what? Hey, my mama was like, anything to get him out of this house, we gonna have him to do it.
Word. Exactly.
Yeah. All right, Rod. We appreciate it as always. We'll talk to you next week. Enjoy the games, and we'll be watching for you on TV.
Thank you, guys. I'll talk to you next week.
All right, Rod.